You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome to Dear Texas Radio, where we do encourage you to drop something and read. If you know me, I always ask that you don't break it. We don't want you to do that, but we do want you to pick up a great book by a Texas author, sick, bad. Enjoy the story and let your troubles just melt away. Today we have a special edition. It is for the author's marketing event for authors coming up on July 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. We have a lot of speakers that will be talking about various parts of marketing and how to improve upon what you need to do to get your book out there, get it recognized, because you are competing against millions of other authors, and nearly 5,000 books are being uploaded to Amazon on a monthly basis. So that's a lot of competition. So we've created this author's marketing event, and to help make it a success for not only yourself but for us, we've invited Dr. Natalie Forrest to the event. Welcome, Natalie.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful, thank you, and welcome. We have you scheduled to do two presentations. The biggest one is called Success I'm having a hard time talking. Success Revolutions, the Hidden Power of Patterns. So let's talk about hidden patterns. What do you mean by that?
Well, thank you, number one, for bringing that up, and number two, for having me. I've been talking to a lot of my author friends, not just about the show today, but about your event, and I'm very excited to be there and to be sharing what I believe is crucial, and that is the pattern paradigm. And I know I'm talking to very educated people when I'm talking to authors. We have a lot of patterns. Or behaviors, you may say. And every single pattern that we have has a certain power over us. You know, the easiest one is to say when you get up in the morning, your pattern might be that you have a cup of coffee. And if the coffee machine doesn't work, you might start having a bad day. So that single pattern already has a power over you and how you start your day and how the rest of the day is going. But that's a pattern or a ritual that you are fully aware of. There are a lot of other patterns that are subconscious, and they have even more power especially over how we do or don't succeed. One example that I always bring up is one of my patterns used to be that I wouldn't charge a lot for my services when I work with authors or clients or along branding and other things. And I thought that was good, but it was because I was a teacher growing up. For a lot of years in my life, I was an educator in the college setting, and we know how that is being paid for. But more importantly, my mother taught me and my brother a very important skill, and that was to survive on very little money, to not value money over people, which I think is fantastic. But of course, subconsciously, my pattern was, I can survive on little. Don't ask for a lot of money. Work with the people who don't. So I never charged in order to really support myself, which meant I had to scrape left and right as well, trying to make ends meet while helping a lot of people to be successful in their own rights. And I think that's really the sort of pattern that I'm talking about. What is consciously and subconsciously going on with you that might keep you where you are right now, or for authors, not being able to really step out necessarily and do the next big thing, not being as successful in marketing, because the event we're talking about is a marketing event as well. What is preventing you or stopping you? What patterns are there that have you resist being in the spotlight and being the marketer for the message that you have? That's the short version of what I mean by the hidden power of patterns.
Okay. I for one, have seen a lot of my own patterns that have prevented me from stepping out and moving forward and stuff. And you do have to learn to recognize those, and sometimes it is difficult to do that. So through your session that you're going to be doing as the keynote speaker at the dinner, you're going to hopefully guide people through a work process, a workbook type process, or how are you going to approach that?
Well, I will give a few examples. I will hopefully have an engaged audience where I can bring some of their suggestions or thoughts in. So yes, I usually when I talk, I do try to interact as much as I can with the people who are present so that they have a takeaway. And what I mean by that is I will bring up some example of my own and say how I got through them, and then share with them, everybody who's in the room, number one, maybe one or two of their little challenges that they have found, but also number two, giving them, as you were just pointing out, a little very easy process of how to start identifying some of your patterns, how to start being more aware of the power that we also as individuals have over identifying and working with our patterns. I mean, there are some patterns we may be very comfortable with and don't want to give up, and that's okay. But if there are some patterns in place that are really preventing us, how do we deal with them? So there are some key aspects on how you can approach that when you recognize you have this pattern. But before you recognize it, usually you do need to talk to somebody, whether that is a close friend or an acquaintance or another author. You need to have that conversation where you're really open. So the first step to identifying any patterns is always being in a state of where you allow yourself to be vulnerable and come out and say, I'm not where I want to be. Why is that? Do you have any suggestions? Because once somebody else gives you input, because they've been observing you, they've known you for a little bit, then they can say, well, whenever the light goes on, you go into this little shell. You're no longer as passionate. Maybe you've got some kind of fear of public speaking, or you're a very private person. Like I am a very private person, but I do a lot of speaking and marketing, and I'm out a lot. So how do you balance that? And as an author, most of the time we do need to market because we're trying to make an income. We're trying to get our message out. And which of those is you? Do you just want to make a lot of money, or do you really want to get your message out? And then I can show at the event, and of course right now, how do we funnel you in a sense into being comfortable in that limelight where you normally go into your shell, because it's not about you, it's about the message. And working through some of those examples, I think, will hopefully help the audience. And I know that there are going to be a lot of very insightful people there who are going to hopefully also share impromptu a couple of their challenges that we can play with as well.
Yes, and we've actually been encouraging not only authors to attend the dinner, but anybody who wants to learn about these patterns and help improve upon their life and stuff. So we definitely encourage the authors, but anybody, their family, their friends, whoever, who want to just continue to grow in a personal space. One thing you had touched upon was the marketing for authors, which is really a critical thing. I've worked with so many authors over the years that I keep seeing the same old pattern continue to exist, which is I want to write, I don't want to market. And a lot of that comes to that aspect of fear of not wanting to be out there socially pushing or feeling like they have to be a salesman. The negative connotations that come with that is what they're focused on. And so for them to be at this event is definitely a positive step, and I know that your talk will definitely help them. We have a couple minutes left of this segment, but real quickly, how can people find you?
Oh, I am so easy to find. It's pretty much my name, Natalie Forrest. My website is natalieforrest1r.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media. It's always /NatalieForrest.com. And I do actually, when I do get messages on any of the social media, I really do try to respond. If anybody has any questions, they can just directly contact me, info@NatalieForrest.com.
Okay. Your other event or your other conversations you're going to have during the course of this marketing event is Success Revolutions, Your Purpose, Your Book, Your Brand. And we'll talk more about that in the next segment. From an author's perspective, real quickly, why would this be a great event for them to attend, other than hearing your session?
Well, I think looking at the list of speakers that you have, number one, you get a lot of ideas on how to market, but also how to not spend your money in ways that may not be helpful to you. So be more focused on where you spend the money and how you spend the money to be successful. I especially also love the fact that you are going to address at this event the difference between Kindle or online publishing and print publishing, and how we can use some of the new media to our advantage. So I think there's such a range of topics that are crucial for any author who wants to get their message out. And I think we're using one right now with an internet radio show. And I think that's another way for authors to really step in. And I know you have a presentation during the event on that as well. So the variety of avenues in which authors can market their book, or wannabe authors, for example. I don't think it's just for authors who already have a book, but seeing what avenues out of the plethora, out of the variety, am I really comfortable with? If I don't want to have a radio show because I don't like my voice, then what else can I do? So you can maybe use social media. And I think that's really intriguing to me about this event, not to mention that you have this author marketing certification, which I think is really going to help a lot of authors with the book that they're currently working on or their next book, because it does elevate them a little bit above the crowd, and they will have more insights on how to market their book or their friend's book or their family member's book.
I totally agree with you, and with that, we're going to step away and come back in just a couple minutes after our sponsors have their say.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors, EBG 247, where you can find ebooks galore 24 hours, 7 days a week at ebg247.com. Wimberley Valley Tourism welcomes people to explore the many fine shops, restaurants, and wineries that make Wimberley special. More at wvtla.com. McKinney, Texas's quaint downtown square, rich in history, entices visitors to discover its more than 100 eclectic shops and eateries. With origins dating back to 1848, McKinney is situated just 30 miles north of Dallas and 40 miles south of the Oklahoma border. One of the country's fastest-growing cities, McKinney maintains its authentic small-town atmosphere, which is palpable when exploring the downtown streets, taking a walk on one of the city's many nature trails, or even visiting the city's Croatian-style village. Learn more about what awaits you in this picturesque North Texas city at www.visitmckinney.com or call 888-649-8499. Bourgeois Media and Consulting, a book publishing consultant where creative inspiration is realized. More at bourgeoismedia.com. Texas Authors Incorporated, in association with the Texas Authors Institute of History and Drop Everything and Read Texas Incorporated, are proud to present the third annual short story contest. Entries can be submitted between March 1st through July 31st. Winners are published in an anthology that helps raise money for the Dear Texas literacy programs, which has helped raise over $15,000 over the past 2 years. To learn more on how to enter the contest, go to ebg247.com or txshorts.com. Contest is available only to residents of Texas. You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome back to Dear Texas Radio. We do encourage you to drop everything and read. And today we have a special edition for Authors Marketing event coming up July 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. To learn more about this event, you can go to our website, authors.marketing. That's it, nothing else, just authors.marketing. It'll take you right to the site where you can learn about our guest here today, Dr. Natalie Forrest, who, by the way, is got a list of awards and presentations and programs and a whole bunch of things that really, truly make her more than qualified to have discussions at our event, from branding to pattern, breaking patterns, learning what your patterns are, and so much more. It's definitely an event that's worth coming to and enjoying. Even if you're not an author but you just want to learn more about marketing, definitely check us out. That's authors.marketing on the website. And welcome back, Dr. Natalie Forrest.
And thank you again for having me. I am so in awe of what you're putting together for this event, the variety. I'm really looking forward to it. And I know you're saying or you're asking for all authors or all people in Texas to drop everything and read, but I've been telling all my friends about this who are also not in Texas. So I've got some people in Arizona and in New Mexico, and I've said, hey, you got to come out to this. So you never know who's going to show up to learn a little bit more about authors, about writing, about marketing, which is such a crucial aspect in getting your message out.
It is, and we definitely want to encourage people from around the world to come to the event. It is the only type of event that does offer certification for authors in marketing, so we do want them to take full advantage of that. But it's also a great event for so many reasons. One, what you get to learn, but two, the camaraderie of talking with fellow authors or fellow people learning about marketing. It really opens your eyes on a whole bunch of different levels. So we definitely encourage that. And one of the things that will be going on is your second discussion that you'll be having, which is Success Revolutions, Your Purpose, Your Book, Your Brand. Now, a lot of people don't understand what all that means. So could you, in a short, as short as you possibly can, because it is a lot in there, what that means?
Well, it is pretty simple, actually. Depending on where you're coming from, I know a lot of people who have a book. And, it's a great thing to have a book. Once you have the book, whether you're thinking about marketing, whether you're thinking about what to do next, you really need to, number one, take a step back, which is your purpose. Why did you write the book? What is your message? What are you trying to accomplish? And that's an individual thing, of course. For every author, it's a little different. So once you have the purpose, you can now approach the third aspect of this, which is the brand. And for marketing, of course, we do need some kind of brand. We do need, I don't want to say an image, but we need to have something that we can put out there. And sometimes that's us directly, who we are. So Natalie Forrest, that's my brand. For somebody else, it might be more the message that they're having. Maybe it's about communication. So their brand may be family communication. And that's what you need to work out in order to do the next piece, which is so crucial for any kind of success, which is the marketing. Because if you don't connect the message of your book with the message or the purpose of who you are and why you're here, putting that into something that is more easily digestible, for lack of a better term, which we call the brand, then why would people buy your book on communication over the 300 others that they find? And that's really where it all comes together. Once you have those pieces, those stepping stones in place, you can now expand your marketing just for the book. You can expand your message and your branding for speaking opportunities, for actually being on radio interviews or TV interviews. You can create a program that goes with it. And you can possibly also create the second or the third book to follow up from it. You can more easily do a book tour. So I was just talking earlier today with a client of mine who has a book, and it's a wonderful, very insightful book, and I love the title of that book. What he is missing is exactly this piece. So he wants to now go out and be a speaker, which not every author wants. Some authors might actually want to sell their book to become a movie. I have one of those as well. So how do you get a movie, a film company to look at your book, or how do you get the speaking engagement? You really need to refine why you're doing what you're doing. And then you need to tell people about that. This is who I am, and this is why I do what I do. That's the brand. Then the rest comes much more easily together, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of extra time, energy, and money on all of that when you have these stepping stones in place that you can then sort of funnel out from, because you've got the gem, and now you just shine the light from that gem in all directions where you want to shine it.
That is definitely important, and so many authors just want to get out there and write and think that the book's going to sell itself, or that they'll get the multi-million-dollar contract from a publisher, and that's just not the case these days because there is so much competition. So being able to fine-tune and learn what the brand is and what the message is really critical. And I think your sessions are going to definitely help people understand that, especially with the patterns. So many times we do things that we just don't consciously know why we do, and that will help a lot of authors break through that and become more successful. So I'm looking forward to that. You have such a wide background. What got you started? You mentioned earlier you were a college professor, teacher.
Yeah.
What moved you from that into doing these type of programs?
I don't think I ever really moved out, because as a college professor, I found myself, or throughout my life really, I found myself always working with people much more on the consulting or the coaching avenue. Even when I was teaching, I'm a historian by trade, so even when I look at history, I see all of the patterns. I see why people do what they do and how we might be able to modify an outcome, or why we cannot modify an outcome for that matter. And so I always look at it from the personal perspective, and I realized very early on, obviously, that a lot of times when we just follow our patterns in an unaware situation, most people tend to at some point in their lives wake up and wonder who they are, what they're doing, and a lot of them are really, really unhappy because they all of a sudden realize, at whatever age that might be, that they're living somebody else's life. I mean, I've been there. I know a lot of people who've been there, and then we call it a midlife crisis. But that midlife crisis might start at age 20 for some and age 70 for others. So once I realized that, I found myself as a college teacher really, while teaching historical facts and data and important information, sharing much more about confidence and that everybody has the right, as I call it nowadays officially, to live their own lives and to live it their way. As long as we're not hurting anybody, we need to not all be little robots that fall in line, because then we're just all unhappy. Then the world is black and white and there's no more variety. And what makes the world a fun place is all of the variety of people and places. And so once I realized that and I started looking at my pattern, how do I spend the time in between teaching classes, I was always coaching. I was always consulting and helping people realize who they are, realize their purpose, support them in moving in whatever direction seemed right for them. And at some point, a good friend said, it's time to step out of your comfort zone, and that's what I did. I stepped out of the comfort zone of the classroom and made my mission just a little bit bigger. So that's where I am now. I'm a little bit bigger out there, not bigger per se, but I'm spreading the message more widely, doing what I've always done, just in a more revolutionary way, by letting the world know you have a choice.
Yes, and it's definitely, it sounds sometimes easier than it is, but at the same time, it's well worth the effort and the energy to do it. Even for marketing your books, it's definitely well worth the energy. We only have about a minute left, so if you would please let people know how they can reach you again.
Yeah, very easy. My website, natalieforrest.com, Facebook, Instagram, all of the main areas of social media. Just type in my name, Natalie Forrest. Forrest like the woods, 1 R. And if you want to reach out to me directly, info@natalieforrest.com. And I will try to get back with you as soon as I can, because I actually love what I do, and I love especially working with authors. I'm working on some collaborative projects with a friend of mine who also helps people publish, and we'll see how we can get more beautiful messages out there.
And I look forward to that. And we thank you very much for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing you at the Authors Marketing event on July 28th through the 30th. You are the keynote speaker at the Celebration of Authors Dinner Gala, which is that Saturday night. And then you also have a presentation earlier in the day on Saturday. So, again, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. I'm excited too.
Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio. To learn more about Dear Texas and its literacy programs, please visit their website at deartexas.info. I'm Alex Anthony, your announcer. Have a great day.